Please give a huge round of applause and warm welcome to Hugh Grant. Welcome, sir. Thank you for being here.
No, lovely to be here.
We've got a huge audience for you tonight who I'm going to get to their questions very, very shortly, if that's all right, but I'm going to start, if that's okay. I want to know what it is that you look for in a project that makes you sign on that line. What is it you're looking for?
Well, it's increasingly difficult these days to make me sign on for anything because I've got so sidetracked in life with politics and things like that. But in the case of this film, this is a man, Mark Lawrence, who wrote and directed it, who I've made lots of films with before, and who I trust. This particular script, I thought was the best thing he'd ever written. It was funny and it was had romance, but it was also more than a romantic comedy. It was kind of moving. It's about redemption, and I thought I might be good in it.
And with regards to a relationship that you've kind of been there before, there is a relationship between you two. Does that make it more encompassing, and that you can have more involvement? And do you like to have more involvement rather than just being, the star of the film? Is that important for you?
Yeah, I'm no good at just turning up and saying the lines.
Okay.
I'm pretty much Barbara Streisand when it comes to interfering in every aspect of the making of the film. I bitch about the script, I bitch about the casting, I bitch about the crew, I worry about the editing, I worry about the marketing. And
you're annoying, basically.
I'm annoying, but it makes me happy. Yeah.
You mentioned casting, and the casting in this film is brilliant.
I agree.
It's quite indie as well in terms of those names that you have in there as well that you see popping up in kind of it's not a big kind of blockbuster sort of set of characters, although they're big names, and that gives it a real authenticity, I think, to the film as well. Would you agree?
Well, those are brilliant actors.
Yeah, of course.
And I think it was a testament to the quality of the script that you get Alison Janney and all these people, Chris Elliott, to J.K. Simmons to sign up for a film like this.
Yeah. And what was the experience like for you? Was there much? Because I wanted to ask about improvisation and whether that was something that was done on set or was encouraged or that you enjoy.
Well, I do like to do a bit of that. I mean, it was a very funny script anyway, but it's quite nice to do a few takes that are as written and then to just mess around a bit. And sometimes that works well, and sometimes it's just embarrassing. But if you trust the people you're working with, I mean, it's the biggest trust you can give, really, to dare to be unfunny and embarrassing, and no one's going to mind too much. And I know these people very well.
Well, we've got some clips that we want to show and talk about. And one of them, the first one is with your first meeting, Keith's first meeting with Marissa's character Holly. Let's take a look at this. I like the way she says "I wish" as well at the end. No. But that's a good example of it feeling like a natural conversation, which is testament to the script, but also the chemistry between you guys. What was Marisa like to work with?
Well, she is a great genius. I mean, I found it intimidating to be acting with her because she's an Oscar winner and she's very, very highly regarded. She's a proper New York method actress. Really? She does all that kind of... I mean, she was getting deep into character 9 months before we started shooting. She that far out, she was leaving an hour and a half messages about her character on Mark Lawrence's telephone every day. The tape used to run out. So it's thoroughness bordering on psychosis. But the result...
Wow.
The result's brilliant.
She, she just sparks onto the screen there, and that kind of spark stays throughout the film. There's something quite kind of magical about her as an actress, I think.
Yeah, that's right, and sort of vulnerable. She's very likable on screen.
Did you do much improvisation with her in those scenes with Marisa? Or
well, there was some in rehearsal, I think, but not so much on the set. That scene we had to reshoot about 17 times because weather is a theme in this film. My character comes from LA and he's horrified by how grey this awful place in upstate New York is. And of course, the sun shone for our entire shoot. So we kept trying to shoot it in shady corners and it never worked. And finally we got that grey day.
We got another clip, which is another first meeting with another female character in the film, which we'll talk about after this. I wanted to ask about the whole, because it's kind of real in terms of, you know, screenwriters, I imagine, have experiences that are kind of similar to this in terms of there's, you know, the film opens with your character selling his ideas to various people. Did you have a bit of fun with that, with the script, in terms of picking or trying to emphasize certain things that you wanted to play with that were very close to reality, maybe?
Well, it's true. My character at the beginning of the film is a failed screenwriter. You know, he once won an Oscar, and now he can't get any job at all. And it opens with this tragic scene of him pitching an idea to studio after studio, and they hate it. And you know that Hollywood is a cruel world, and it's quite good to mock it. I mean, the trouble with satirizing Hollywood is it requires no satire at all. You know, it is.
The real things.
Yeah.
And we've got our final clip here, which is another one with you and Alison, which we'll run and talk about. I'm going to ask, first of all, have you seen Clueless?
I love Clueless. Yes.
Wow, was it just faked in the film? Then you actually do like Clueless. I'm glad. I think that make a lot of people happy that you're a fan of Clueless.
Oh, massive! It actually it came out at the same time as Four Weddings and a Funeral. I remember everywhere I went, there was Alicia Silverstone doing the same interviews. We were on the same circuit. Yeah.
Old pals from back in the day.
Yeah.
Just kind of focusing on the females in the film, because you know they're amazing, and you've had an amazing selection of female actresses that you've kind of worked with over the years, sort of thing. That relationship, that chemistry is so important, and it's something that can't be. You know, I think people can tell on screen when it doesn't work. I mean, what's it like on that first day or that first meeting with that, you know, with that co-star? Is it a bit like a first date? Is it a bit kind of uncomfortable and kind of? You imagine there's some that you know in advance, but then there has to be that first meeting with your potential co-star or that woman that you're going to spend the next X amount of weeks with, acting opposite each other.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, what I've learnt is that how you get on offset has absolutely no bearing on how the chemistry comes over in the final film. Very often it's the opposite of what you'd think. You think, oh, I'm getting on so well with this person. And then it looks a bit dead on screen. And sometimes you hate each other. And it looks actually quite sexy.
Wow.
I think hate comes over as sex sometimes.
It's that spark, isn't it?
Yes,
It's that chemistry.
Yeah.
We've got this huge audience here, so I'm sure we've got lots of questions. So if you have some questions, we do. Hands are straight up already. We'll start over on this side then. We'll start at the front, and then we'll head back to the lady there.
Hi. Is there any genres that you haven't done that you'd like to do in the future?
Genres of films.
Well, I've never done a surf movie, and I would quite like to do that. Yeah.
Can you surf?
No, but it would be a nice opportunity to learn, I think. Yeah.
Is that a thing with acting where you almost kind of get to learn new skills as you're going along?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I learned to play the piano in a film. I had to dance in another one. I had to drive a dog sled once, which, in fact, I lost control of the dogs and was driven quite a few miles out onto the sea ice in northern Canada. It was a very frightening experience. I don't really like to talk about it. It makes me cry.
Lady behind, please. If we can get the microphone to her, that'd be great. Thanks.
Hi, I wanted to ask you about the dance scene in Love Actually. Was that choreographed or did you improvise that? In the Prime Minister's
Oh, yes.
house?
No, I improvise. I'm afraid that's me doing my best dancing. I did dread the scene, but I had a feeling that it might come over as amusing because all my life up till then when I danced in nightclubs, people laughed. I have had women come up to me and say, "Are you joking?" To which the answer was no. This is my best work.
I think you won her over. Microphone behind. If you just want to pass it behind, that'd be great. Thanks.
Hi. If you were to teach something at a university, would it be acting, dancing, or something else entirely?
Teacher, what would you teach?
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't know anything. I have nothing to teach. I did once get dragged into doing an acting class some acting school here in London, and I really dreaded it. But actually, I quite liked it. It was a bit of a power trip. I liked all those eager faces. It made me feel manly.
What tips did you give them? Have you got memorable teachers that you can remember that I don't know were, because I've heard you say that this wasn't really what you were or intending to do, the world of acting, but so I imagine you don't have an acting coach or teacher or someone who inspired you in that field. It must be something. Is it something completely different that you have a teacher that?
No, I had some very good teachers at school, but I don't know how to answer your question. I wasn't one of those people who thought I must go into acting. If I don't act, I'll die. I just fell into it as an accident after I left university, and I thought I'll do it for a year, earn some money, and then 1 year turned into 30.
What do you think you would have done though if you had only done it for that year?
Well, I was destined to go and do another degree, a different degree, this time in history of art, to the Courtauld here in London. So I suppose I'd be poncing around selling art in some Christie's or something.
Okay, next question. Where are we going to go over here to this gentleman here?
I was just wondering if you could talk a bit about working with the Wachowskis and Tom Tykwer on Cloud Atlas, because that just seemed like such a different choice for you. And I loved it, by the way. I thought it was amazing.
Oh, well, I love you for loving it.
Thank you. You've made my day.
Okay. I agree with you. I think it's a really good film, and I was just very surprised when this offer came through on an email, and I wondered if they were in some way taking a piss. So I went to see them, and they weren't. They genuinely thought I would be interesting in those parts. So I thought, well, if the Wachowskis think I'd be good as a flesh-eating cannibal, I guess I will be. And so I did it. And it was only really when I was in that full makeup with, pieces of people's jawbones hanging around my neck, a necklace, and standing on a hilltop in Germany that I suddenly realized I haven't got the faintest idea how to play a cannibal. I was really quite stuck. I kept saying, give me a witty line and I'll be better. But anyway, it was fascinating to do, although I'm not sure I could do that much makeup again. Really, it was just days and weeks sitting in makeup, having bits of plastic stuck to my face.
Just kind of going on from that in terms of working with different people, Wachowskis and Guy Ritchie, who you worked with on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Another completely, I imagine, a very different experience. And working with different directors must be quite a unique experience from each one to each one.
Yes. Well, the Wachowskis are very, very hands-on. It's they really want to. There's one Wachowski will come up and say, "Hey man, just more like a leopard. You got to really be a cat. You really want that flesh." And the other one comes up and says, "Well, actually, it would be great if you kind of stood over there and maybe looked at the camera." But anyway, it's a lot of attention. And Guy Ritchie plays the guitar and or chess while you're acting. It seems very, very laid back, but clearly knows what he's doing, has great control, and it's all ultimately very stylish. But he couldn't be more calm.
What do you prefer?
Well, I'm very flexible and easy.
Did you like that experience with the Wachowskis thing of being, I guess kind of stepping outside a comfort zone and and doing something completely different? Did you like that challenge, or was it quite terrifying?
Well, I was a little uncomfortable as the cannibal, but some of the other parts I played in that film I really enjoyed. I was that old man who was Jim Broadbent's older brother. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah.
It's do you strive for that when you do agree to do something? Do you like something that will?
Well, the thing is, most actors pick their roles according to how different they are and challenging and stretching, and that's probably a very good thing to do. I only do that a little bit. Really, my number one criteria is, will this make an entertaining piece of entertainment? I think, sometimes people lose sight that that's what we're meant to do, is to entertain, rather than to just say, oh, what a marvellous actor I am.
Less about yourself and more about the audience then.
Well, I don't know. I just can't quite justify the whole process unless people are going to quite like it. And they don't always, but that is my aim.
Amazing. That's really fascinating. Next question, please. Oh, right in the middle. Two ladies here. Let's start at the front and we'll work backwards. Thank you.
Hi. I wanted to ask you if are you a big fan of anything?
Anything?
Yeah.
Are you a big
someone.
fan of anything? Could that? Are we talking food? Are we talking arts? Or
If you're
what?
a fan of
Hobbies? Are we
hobbies.
talking hobbies? Or
yeah.
hobbies, Hugh. Do you have any hobbies?
My latest hobby is motor racing. I've I don't know why I've started racing silly cars.
Watching or actually
No,
doing?
actually doing it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I don't seem to be any good. I've done 3 races and I've come last, second last, and last. So, but I may get better. And I like the suit.
What was the kind of catalyst for that? Just try it, or was there anything in particular?
It was a midlife crisis in which I bought a silly sports car, and then I started taking lessons, and the next thing I knew, had a helmet on my head and was coming second last.
Could you pass the microphone behind you to the young lady, please? Thanks.
Actually, I've got 2 questions, if that's not too much.
That's okay.
Yeah. The first question is, have you ever imagined yourself being an actor like you are now when you were a child? And the second one is, we actually studied your film at university, because I did a film studies course in Manchester. So what does it feel like to actually be studied by like university students or the students around the world? Thank you.
What was the first question again?
First question.
Keep going round.
The first question was, God, I forgot now. It's on. It's fine with you.
Did you
ever imagine when you were a child of being an actor? Yeah.
Well, not really. I did. I did school plays, and I thought I was pretty good, but always in female roles.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah, because it was an all-boys school, and the man in charge of the drama department found me very attractive, and he liked to put me in little white dresses and things, yeah. So that, yeah, and then the second question: what's it like to be studied? I'm absolutely. I'd love to find out what you could possibly study, in any of these films. Really, there's.
Well, you've been in, but yeah, you say that kind of modestly, but you have been in, especially in terms of British films that have done incredibly well around the world, whether it be 4 Weddings or Notting Hill or Love Actually and stuff. They're the films that people and generations still watch and still enjoy. So there is something there to be talked about and to be looked at. But I guess
I do think an interesting theme is whether mass entertainment, commercial films, are necessarily inferior to arty-farty festival prize-winning films. Because very often people think that's the case, but I'm not sure. My experience has been that obviously there can be good and bad in both types, but people underestimate how much talent and expertise goes into making popular entertainment sometimes. It's not, all I'm saying is it's not automatically tat.
What do you have any inclination or thought about why those films are, they're still loved? People still enjoy them. People are still being introduced to them and enjoying them as much as the first time that they saw them.
I don't know the right answer to that, except that in the case of Richard Curtis's romantic comedies, I always say that he had 2. It was an alignment of 2 qualities that I think is quite potent. One of them was that he does write. He's funny. His stuff is funny. And the other is that when he talks about love, he really means it. Richard Curtis is a man who's suffered in the horns of love many, many times in his life for some reason. And so all that stuff's real. It's not just sort of made up to please an audience.
Okay, next question. There we go, lady there with the red top on.
In music and lyrics, did you have any singing or dancing lessons before that, or were you just naturally amazing? I mean, I personally loved it.
Well, I love you for loving that. But they did have a choreographer who was Britney Spears' choreographer.
Wow.
And I was, in pre-production, encouraged to go and do sessions with him in a big, expensive rehearsal room somewhere in downtown New York. And we chatted for a bit. And then he said, well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to play the music and just express yourself the way you would to the music. So he'd press the button, play, and I'd just stand there and stare at him for 3 minutes. And he'd say, well, that didn't quite work, did it? And we had many of these sessions. And I said, I'm sorry, I just can't. I'm too embarrassed. I'm too English. And in the end, I just improvised it with the help of my makeup artist, who brought me whiskey in a 7-Up bottle and tranquilizers. And it was a perfect little combination. And then I just went for it.
Don't try that at home. Just going to put that there. Lady kind of behind the pillar there. She's desperate to ask a question. So let's get her microphone. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Grant. I was wondering, out of all the films you've done, which one is your favorite and why?
Out of all your films, do you have a favorite and why?
I don't really have a favorite, but I'm always quite proud of About a Boy. Yeah.
For any particular reason?
Well, I suppose because it's could be regarded as quite hip, and it's not normally an adjective.
Arty-farty.
Well, I don't know that it is arty-farty. No. It was actually quite commercially successful, but it was just quite hip. It was shot in a very stylish way, and I think we managed to keep all sweetness out of it, or saccharine sweetness, and and it still ended up as quite moving film. So I'm quite proud of that.
With a great soundtrack too. Yes,
so that was part of what made it quite hip, was the Badly Drawn Boy soundtrack.
Do you still see Nicholas at all? Do you still keep in touch?
I bumped into him at a motor race.
You weren't racing against him, were you?
We were actually watching.
Okay.
I was meant to be racing. This was at the Formula One race in Montreal last year. And I was petrified. I was supposed to be doing one of the warm-up races. And luckily it rained, and they banned me because I'd never raced in the rain before. But anyway, he was there because he's a big car fanatic. In fact, when we made About a Boy, he was the one that was bullying me into buying sillier and sillier cars.
Do you feel a sense of kind of pride in terms of, how he's doing career-wise?
Yes, it was all down to me. Yeah.
Working father. Okay, who else question? There's a gentleman, there's two actually over there, just by the pillar. And if we have any more in the front area, let me know. We've got a lady over there and we got one there. Okay.
Hi, Hugh. Thanks for coming to the event here today.
Yeah.
I just want to related to what you were talking about before and your love for politics and your love for film. Where do you see yourself going in the future? Do you see yourself, do you entertain perhaps a member of parliament position or that sort of thing?
I have quite enjoyed my excursion. Accidental excursion into politics, is true, just because it's something different and well, the word everyone uses nowadays is challenging. It has been challenging and quite frightening, but I couldn't do it permanently. I don't think. I don't believe in enough. I see both sides of almost every political question, and I think that would make for a hopeless kind of MP.
And then I think there's a lady kind of next to you who has a question as well, if you could get...
Yeah. I love the movie, music, and lyrics, and I love to sing the song Way Back Into Love. And I noticed a few similarities between the rewrite and music and lyrics, mainly the main character. He was big in the past, and now he's, like, sort of down in his luck. Did you notice any similarities at first? And did he try to play the character differently? Oh, yeah, and what's your favorite movie?
2 questions.
Well, it's true. They're both... music, lyrics, and this one are about people whose career graph has dipped significantly. I can't really explain that. Maybe Mark Lawrence, who wrote them both, was, looking for something that a man of my age could play, and which the thing is, if you're a failure, a charming failure, I think it's supposed to be quite endearing, and then you can always come up again, and that makes for a nice happy ending. But you're probably right. There is a significant similarity between the two. My favourite film of all time ever that anyone's ever made.
Yeah. Or one of.
Wow. Goodfellas?
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice. There's a lady over here. There she is, middle row, right on the end. Hello.
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 Is there any film, any role that you will never done? And have you ever regret doing something, some play?
Any type of role you'd never do in a movie?
No, if the money's right, I'll do it. Yeah.
And then the second part, is there any role you regret?
Any ones I regret?
Yeah.
Well, there are.
Which ones?
But I can't,
He's not going to name names.
If I ever say, I get sad emails from the people who I made them with. So, but yes, no, I've made some stinkers.
And then there was someone else. Where were they? No, they've gone. There you are. I knew there was one over there somewhere.
Hi, Hugh. Myself and my wife, we absolutely adore you, and we always have. We always will. You're fantastic. So just want to say that.
Thank you.
Get that out of the way. Some of your best roles will be when you've been like a bumbling, charming, slightly goofy chap. How much of that would you say that you relate to and you feel is actually you? In a nice way. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Well, actually, not much. Richard Curtis, in particular, always laughed that people thought, after 4 Weddings and Notting Hill, that Hugh, was this nice, dithering Englishman, when he knew that actually I was quite a nasty piece of work. So, no, it's not me. All I'll say is that I used to be so nervous in front of the camera that I could get a bit bumbly just because of that. But in real life, I don't detect any bumble in myself.
Do you still get nervous?
Yep, very nervous, especially on day one. It's hideous. In fact, they very often have to throw away everything they shoot on day one because I can barely move and I sweat so violently it comes through my costume.
What is it you were nervous about, do you think?
Well, I'm actually nervous about being nervous because the one thing, cruelly, that you really need for film acting, even more than any acting ability, is just to be calm. The camera loves it if you're calm. That's why you can point a camera at an animal in a film and it'll come over really quite well because animals on the whole are quite calm. But if you're tense, the camera hates it. And so I get tense in case I'm going to get tense, and then I get tense. Yeah.
With this film, the rewrite, for you, what's the thing, the memory of the filmmaking process that springs to mind? What's the most memorable thing about making this film for you?
I really liked, especially. I mean, I loved doing the scenes with Marisa and Alison and everything. But I really loved the scenes with the kids because they were so keen and charming, and I had a laugh with them. And it's the first time I've really acted with that generation, and they were just really cool and really good, unbelievably good. So I liked those scenes.
And in the scene, I mean, because your character has this thing where he's, everybody remembers that film that he won the award for and stuff. Yeah. You must get a bit of that in real life as well, where you get people quoting your lines from various films at you. Do you still?
Well, yes. I get people singing "Pop Goes My Heart" at me, and every time I do an interview for a film, the journalist always says, "I'm from Horse and Hound," and
really?
But I always manage to laugh as I've never heard it before. Because I'm so
you.
polite. Yeah.
What a polite gentleman.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to everyone for coming tonight.
Yes.
And please thank you for his time as well this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.